Hey everybody. Today I'm just going to be doing a review of the boxed set edition of The History of Middle-earth by Christopher Tolkien. Um, I'm probably gonna have to pause the video a few times to get some things situated because I don't have my tripod and I'm filming this with my camera in my hand. But as you can see here, I'm gonna do a comparison later of these are the 1 through 12 volumes of the histories of Middle Earth, and they're all each a separate book. What the histories of Middle Earth does, this box set, is turn all of those 12 books into three. So this is what I'm going to be doing a review on today. I got this box set edition off of eBay, brand new. But I was pretty upset when I got the box because look at the corners here, how damaged they are. I don't know if it got damaged in shipping, but I was pretty upset that, because these things aren't cheap. I was pretty upset, and I feel like if you pushed in on this enough, it would push through the back. So I was pretty upset with that. This is a really nice box, though. The books are in great condition themselves, but just the box was pretty not in good shape at all for it to be brand new. But I just discovered a place called thebookdepository.com. You can get these off of there pretty cheap. The price fluctuates a lot. I saw it get down to $174, which for this box edition, and it's brand new. It ships from the UK. Is pretty rare for it to get down that low. So I wish I had bought it off there. The price does fluctuate because right now I think it's up to like $208, which is pretty still pretty low, but that's more than what I paid for these here. But yeah, get on the book depository, type these in. Sometimes these go out of stock pretty fast. They sell also on the book depository, if you can catch them, the deluxe editions of some other works that Tolkien did, like the Tales from the Perilous Realm, the Silmarillion, the Children of Hurin. On the actual Tolkien website where you get those deluxe versions from, they cost about $90. I forget how much that is in pounds. I think it's like 40 pounds or something like that. 40, 60 pounds. I'm not sure. But they sell them on there fairly cheaper for what you could get them at from on the actual website. So go check that website out. It's pretty neat. And also check on Amazon or eBay. But right now, I'm gonna go ahead and take these books out and explain to you, what's on the inside of them and what you can expect. So I'm gonna pause the video really fast. Okay, so I took the books out of the box, and this is what you'll see. We got like kind of like a brownish burnt orange color here, green, and a dark shade of purple. These books this part one consists of 5 books. The Book of Lost Tales Part 1, the Book of Lost Tales Part 2, The Lays of Beleriand, The Shaping of Middle-earth, and The Lost Road and Other Writings, which are all of these in one book. Okay? That's all of these in one. And then this second part here has to do with the Lord of the Rings, how it was created, its history and all that. So we got The Return of the Shadow, The Treason of Isengard, The War of the Ring, and Sauron Undefeated, which is all 4 of these books in one. And then here we had The History of Middle-earth Part 3, Morgoth's Ring, the War of the Jewels, The Peoples of Middle-earth, which are all 3 of those books combined into one. On the back of each of these dust jackets, we have let me turn this back up so you can see it better. We have the Tolkien logo on each one of these, orange, green, and the purple. Those are really pretty. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take off these dust jackets, and I'm going to place them on top of the book so you can get like a better idea of how much these books contain each, which is over 5,000 pages in all three of these books. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pause the video really fast. Okay, so I've taken the dust jackets off, and here you can see better how much are actually compressed into these volumes. The paper for all of these editions, the separated books, the paper is really thick and it's of great quality. The paper that is in here, which I'll show you in a little bit, they're like they're very thin. It's like what you'd find in the Bible, very thin paper. So yeah, these books without the dust jackets are very pretty. I keep those on my bookshelf like this sometimes. So this is the History of Middle Earth Volume 1, which comprises of these 5 books. We're going to take a look inside of it. I'm going to show you what it has on the inside. If you open it up, you'll see that it is red. All the other editions, these books, they have like an orange. This will be orange in the other books. But when I first opened this, I thought that this book was going to go all the way through with a page numbering, like page 1 through like 5,000. But it gives you each book in every section. So you see the History of Middle Earth part, book 1, and then it gives you what the book's comprised of or composed of. And then you see here the Book of Lost Tales part 1, and this is just the first book. And then it'll go the second book, the Lays of Beleriand, the Shaping of Middle Earth, and then the Lost Road. And they each give the exact same page numbers as what's in here. So if you ever need to reference something or look in the other editions, it's going to be on the same page. So if you're not familiar with these books already, how Christopher Tolkien does these is usually, okay, well, let's go to this first. The Cottage of Lost Play is going to start on page 13. So you have the foreword here. It's definitely, if you start reading out these books, you need to read this for sure. So this is the Cottage of Lost Play. Usually what happens, or what Christopher Tolkien does, which I love, is at the very beginning of each book or each chapter, he'll give you a little introduction here, and you can tell it's the introduction because the writing, the font is going to be smaller than the actual story. So it's very good to read that first because it'll give you an idea of what you're about to dip into. And then at the end, he will give you notes, and along the way, there'll be numbers or small numbers on the text here, which you can refer to in the notes here. And then there'll be changes to names. The signs that look like the ones you use in math, greater than or less than, they mean are changed to and changed from. So those are really cool to look through. These are like some some of the first names Tolkien ever wrote. And then after he gives you that, he'll give you a commentary, which I love reading these, the commentary. They explain everything you can think of. They explain the whole story, where the ideas came from. They explain the story itself. He gives you the history of it. It's just so complex but simplistic at the same time. I don't know if that'll make sense to you, but I mean, if you read it, I think it will, because it covers so much. But at the same time, if you take your time and you read this commentary, you will be able to literally understand everything that went on in the story and the background of it, where it came from, and Tolkien's thoughts on it. So yeah, it comprises, and this paper is very thin, as you can see. The others are pretty thick. So yeah, this book comprises of all the first 5 books, and then here we're already in volume 2, and see the page numbers, they start over. We're in book 2 right now, and then You know, it goes on, the fall of Gondolin, it's a great chapter, the history, the Ariel or Elfwine. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and these index, I still haven't got this one yet. They sell a History of Middle Earth index, which is basically all this in one pretty big book. I still haven't got that one yet. I would love to get the hardback edition of that, but it is ridiculously expensive because not many of those were ever printed, and you can hardly ever find them on Amazon, eBay, or anywhere else. So this is what you'll see kind of like after you get done reading a part of the story. It'll get into... So this is the end of the Book of Lost Tales Part 2. You turn, and boom, you're in the Lays of Beleriand right now. And then here's like an original script of... You'll read this later, Far in the Northern Hills. And I just want to make something clear really fast. Whenever Christopher Tolkien, whenever he has to type all this stuff up and put it into the books, it came from this. And this is actually very well written by Tolkien. Some of these other pictures in the books gives you, and I'll show you in just a second because I have something that I want to show you too. He has to go through and read all this stuff, often with a magnifying glass, he would say, and type in all of these histories. How long that took and how tedious that must have been, I can't even imagine. Because Tolkien has some good handwriting, but he also has very, very, very bad, illegible handwriting because he writes in a hurry, Christopher would say in a lot of the sections of the Book of Lost Tales, Part 1 and Part 2. So this one actually is pretty good. You can pretty much read that whole thing. But once you get into some other manuscripts that Christopher had to come across, it's just like, wow, I would have blown my brains out so fast if I had to do this. Look at, I mean, just this, okay, right here. This is original, so okay, 2 pages from the original manuscript of the Lay of Children of Hurin. He had to read that. I can't read it because most of it was written hastily. This is in pen. Some of this was in pencil that's been erased and written over in pen, which is the case with most of Tolkien's writings back then. Sorry for the camera turn there. I couldn't have done that. So hats off to Christopher. You did an amazing job. I couldn't have done it for sure. But yeah, this is book 1 of the Histories of Middle Earth. So let's take a look in the second one now. So this one is composed of the Return of the Shadow, the Treason of Isengard, the War of the Ring, Sauron Undefeated. So this is the entire history of how the Lord of the Rings was written, where its backgrounds come from, and just one of the things off the top of my head, well, one of the changes that was made was the original name for Strider was Trotter. So yeah, not Trotter. So now that when we read the Lord of the Rings and we think of Strider as Trotter, as Tolkien originally intended it, it just seems odd, like out of place. But that was the original name, but it got changed. So yeah, you see the history of the Lord of the Rings, Part 1. This is the Return of the Shadow. This starts out in the Fellowship of the Ring and whatnot. So this is what this book is comprised of. There's a lot of illustrations in here that I haven't had time to look through yet. Maybe we can look at one. Let's see here. Okay, illustrations. The map of the Shire is the front piece in here. Original open page, original description, ring verse. Okay, so let's go look at that one. The ring verse and the emergence of the ruling ring in the narrative. Page 259. 259. So here, down here, you can see this is 257. This is another illustration. And again, this is just an example of Tolkien's handwriting. So some of these are the original manuscripts and these are what the histories is comprised of, is the original manuscripts. And then it shows you how we got into the published version of it. And it came from pieces of paper like this. I couldn't have done that. And here's another example. I mean, it just looks like, I don't know. It just looks like a different language to me. I can't read that at all. But again, hats off to Christopher. And another thing I want to make clear is that if we look, we're about to look in here. This is part 2, which is the history of the Lord of the Rings. This is the ancient history. This is what you will find in the Silmarillion today. A lot of the ideas came from this book, book 1, the first 5 books. And all these are written, it's kind of like a huge biography of Tolkien's life in a way. It goes from beginning to end. So it starts out in Tolkien's his younger days, and then it goes into his final days, which is in book 3. He goes back to the first age, the elder days, and he goes back sort of to his ideas in book 1. And then we see more clearly in this book 3 how the Silmarillion came to be. Closer to the published version, I should say. So it starts out in the elder days, and then we go into the history of the Lord of the Rings, and then after the Lord of the Rings was completed, Tolkien goes back to where his heart truly lied in a section that Christopher said, which was the elder days. He goes back to there, and he starts writing the history of the elves again, the music of the Ainur and whatnot. It's where his heart truly was. And then, of course, he died before he could finish it completely. But Christopher had enough notes and whatnot, manuscripts he could look over as to where he could put the Silmarillion, as he could put it together as best as he could. And I think he did a great job. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was informative. If you're looking to buy these books, again, like I said, go on the bookdepository.com. Get on there and try to look and see if you can get it for pretty cheap. But yeah, farewell from Lord Elrond. He bids you all a very fond farewell. He's about to go fight Sauron. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.